I'm using a 1/4-inch sheet of Baltic birch plywood for the game board. I measured out to 17.5 inches long by 12 inches tall. Using my track saw, I cut the board to size. The surface of the plywood is very rough, so I gave it a quick sanding with 220 grit sandpaper. I had the artwork printed at my local office supply store because it was cheap and convenient. However, a standard laser printer would have worked just as well. To transfer the artwork to the plywood, I'll be using Mod Podge gloss. Using a cheap paintbrush, I applied the Mod Podge to the surface of the plywood. I put a thin, even coat across the entire surface of the plywood. In order to ensure maximum coverage, I also applied the Mod Podge to the surface of the artwork. The Mod Podge dries relatively quickly, so I need to move fast. Once both surfaces are covered, I can flip the artwork onto the plywood. Using a card scraper, I removed any air bubbles and embedded the paper into the plywood. In order to reveal the artwork underneath, we have to remove the paper backing, and I started by wetting the entire surface with water. Now that's what I call high quality H2O. To remove the paper backing without damaging the artwork underneath, I'll be removing it in 2 passes. For the first pass, I'm using a soft bristle toothbrush and applying medium pressure. The paper clogs up the bristles, so make sure to clean them often. Here's what the board looks like after the first pass. For the second pass, I re-wet the board and remove the remaining paper using only my fingers. Here's the board after the second pass. With the paper backing removed, it's time to trim the board to final size. I carefully lined the edge of the track saw guide to the black border surrounding the artwork. I then cut all 4 sides out to final length. Using 220 grit sandpaper, I sand the freshly cut edge smooth. To complete the look and hide the plywood edges, I'm painting the sides of the board with black acrylic paint. This would also be a good time to touch up any of the artwork if needed. To seal in the artwork and protect the surface of the board, I'm using polyacrylic clear matte. After letting the first coat dry, the surface of the board is pretty rough. To smooth it out, I lightly sand the board with 220 grit sandpaper. I then apply another coat of polyacrylic. I repeat this process until I have 4 coats of polyacrylic on the board. Just look at that finish, silky and smooth. So with the board finished, I'm moving on to making the planchette, which is the little piece you use to move around the board. And my initial thought was to make a Mario star, but I think I could do something a little bit more interesting. Using my laser printer, I printed my design onto a transparency sheet. Using acrylic paint, I filled in all the areas that needed color. Using a scrap piece of acrylic I found in my shop, I sprayed the surface lightly with Super 77 spray adhesive. I could then attach the artwork. Using my bandsaw, I cut the acrylic to size. For those who are unfamiliar, this is a GameBoy Horror, first featured in the GameCube game Luigi's Mansion. In the game, it helped Luigi navigate the mansion, and I hope this one helps me navigate the Luigi board. Using my disc and belt sander, I sanded the shape down to the line. Using 220 grit sandpaper, I smoothed out all of the edges. The layer of spray adhesive between the transparency sheet and the acrylic was making the viewing window hazy and hard to see through. To fix that, I start by cutting all the way around the perimeter of the viewing window. I then remove the transparency sheet on top. Finally, I remove any remaining spray adhesive residue with isopropyl alcohol. That's so much better, but I'm not done yet. First things first, I lay down some blue painter's tape on the back of the Game Boy. This is a light box used for tracing, and it's going to help me see where I need to cut. I can be a little sloppy with my cut, because the black border surrounding the viewing window will hide any of my crimes. To complete the look of the Game Boy, I'll be using Krylon Frosted Glass Spray Paint. So with the back frosted and the masking tape removed, this project is done. Oh great Luigi Board, what should viewers who enjoyed this video do? And they should also subscribe? I don't know, guys. I'd probably do what it says. Nintendo, let's make this thing real. Hit me up.